We are back with you. We are learning with McKernan again on this Friday, and we're talking about your beautiful flowers. It is almost summertime.
It is.
You make sure you fertilize them good so they can look their best.
Yes, I love annual flowers. I love the color that they bring to the landscape.
Yeah.
And if we're going to spend the money to buy annual flowers, we want to make sure we get the most out of that money and really get them to bloom all summer long if possible.
Absolutely. Okay, so what do we do?
So there's a couple different ways that we can go about fertilizing our annual flowers. The amount of fertilizer that we're going to apply is going to depend on the plant and where we plant it. Typically, if we're planting annual flowers in the ground, a lot of our Kansas soils are already high in phosphorus and potassium, so fertilization is a little less important with the exception of nitrogen. And then if we're putting them in a container or potting soil, often our new fresh potting soils will have some nutrients in them, but those can be depleted over time. So if we're not replacing that potting soil, fertilizer is really important on those raised bed or container plants.
Yeah, and it depends on what kind of fertilizer, right?
It is. So there's really two ways that we can purchase fertilizer for our flowers. Usually the first type is going to be our granular or pellet type fertilizers. These fertilizers are perfect when you mix them into the ground or into the soil at planting time, but you can also use them later in the season as well. The benefit of these types of fertilizers is they're typically going to be slow release or time released, it says here on this bag.
Yeah.
And so that means it gives out a little bit of fertilizer throughout the summer months or for an extended period of time.
I just want to see how they feel.
Yeah, just like little BBs
yeah,
or pellets.
Exactly. All right, so we also got some you can mix in with your water.
Yeah, you can also purchase liquid fertilizers or water-soluble fertilizers that you would mix in. Oftentimes these types of fertilizers you're going to measure out like 1 tablespoon per gallon and mix that in something like a watering can or a 5-gallon bucket, for example.
Yeah, and you say you want to look for the highest number, right?
Yeah, so what's really most important for our annuals is they put on new growth, and usually nitrogen is the limiting factor. So when we look at our fertilizers, all fertilizers are going to have 3 numbers on the label. That first number is the percentage of nitrogen. We want to make sure that that number is the highest of all 3 numbers, and usually anywhere between 8 and 20 as for that first number is going to be the ideal range.
Yeah.
But a little bit more just means you'll use a little bit less fertilizer when you mix it together.
Nice. Yeah, this one has the big 30 on it.
It does. And so typically we want to fertilize from planting through October on our annual flowers because the more new growth we put on, the more flowers we're going to get.
Yeah.
Usually once a month to twice a month is perfect, every 2 to 4 weeks. If you really want to push those flowers and you're watering a lot, you could go as frequently as once a week, but no more than that so that the salts in the fertilizer don't damage the plant.
All right, Matt McKernan, thank you.
Of course.
We'll see you next Friday.
Look forward to it.
Enjoy the holiday.
You too.
All right, we'll be right back.